rumors about their scrims being awful, and I'm sure it's not. It's more than rumors because they are always screamed. So just because they have the experience gap, if that was any other team, I think that they would have lost.
In the meantime, we're going to the pick a ban phase. We already noticed a couple of bans being forced, of course, towards the bows. Yeah, but also Syndra from Nemesis has been picked away by KAUFLAND. So, Temporal, it seems like they're focusing on either mid or top lane at the moment.
Yeah, the Orianna Syndra dynamic would have likely been the definition here. I think Akali has fallen so far down the priority pick. So no Syndra into the Orianna. Those two mages won't be able to manage their front lines. The Xin Zhao already away, the Orianna's best pairing. So now we look at what the Hangry Knights can do with this. Viego is completely fine and has flown under the radar so far. But Corki early, pretty stable in lane, falls to few.
Exactly. A couple of so-called easy-to-go picks during team fights. So it's Orianna and Corki both actually have really good team fights if you want to have them alongside each other. And then, of course, a basic combination, and which might be a nightmare of many bot laners. Lucian and Nami, a stronghold in the bot lane, of course. But they still need to steamroll their way through the game, ref. Otherwise, they might drop off a bit late game.
I mean, I think nowadays with the Electrocute, it's once again a little bit more of an early game, but it's still a mid-game spike. It's not like you have to fight until the one item spike, and if you're not 1200 gold ahead in isolation, you're done. But I am more afraid of this Nocturne, especially with the Orianna. When Lucian shines is when you get to dash forward, and every time that you get to dash forward and the paranoia is on, it's going to be mighty hard for Crown to survive. I'm very much looking forward to whatever LR has in their pockets for the mid laner, because they need to get prior. They need to always have the threat that Nemesis is also moving towards the bot side. Otherwise, I'm not seeing the solution Nami getting enabled.
I like it more than what they did in the Barcelona series, which was Kaiser in this position. They crossed their fingers for the late game, and it never came. I don't know any other mid laner who's drawing zillion bans at this tournament. That's incredible.
Yeah, true. But it's a pretty good ban, because once you play Nocturne, you know you have an all-in. You need that kill, and a zillion could really throw up your balance once you try to fully initiate or engage. Of course, the Cats of Rev being really happy, Nidalee being hovered, maybe Rengar, that's something they would love to see. Of course, we've seen Nidalee in the top lane quite some times. It could be quite a menace, just roaming around, make sure to have some good picks. But before we get there, it seems like the support pick will be joined in there, and an answer to the Nami Lucian could be to bring them close up to you. So you got an engage with Nocturne, then the Blitzcrank hook, Rev. We see something strange.
I mean, don't mind me, like, the Blitzcrank is not a bad pick over here by any means, but why wouldn't you pick Nautilus? Still a counter into the Nami, still
not lost in the first phase, because you're right, it's single point is what we want.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry, I'm blind here, I forgot about the first phase ban, but okay.
You'd go Thresh, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah, more or less. You can also make sure that you can use Random as a Jarvan a little bit, or not so Rebel as a Jarvan. He can go in, then take the Lantern out, create some havoc in enemy communication. Usually they don't expect it, but we also see some very, very common picks of the side of
Right now, we notice all 10 champs are here. Temporal, you're shaking your head. Not nodding, it's shaking your head in disagreement. What are your thoughts at this moment?
I think the Hangry Knights have just thrown this one out the window. They had some options there. I think the Thresh is...
To the casters to see what will happen in the third game of this match.
Thank you, Bo. We are back onto the Rift for this all-important decider sim. LR, KHK, one apiece. A pretty meaty comeback required from LR so far, from the 1-0 down that we saw them so far today. But how do we feel about this draft? We've got the Crowny, Lucian, we've got the Baus Jax. How do we feel about KHK?
I'm of course really happy to see, because what is a game without a good fishing minigame? And Wisdom is here on the Rift today to look for those spicy Nami sushis, hoping to get something for himself there. It was also really cool to see that LR predicts that with the Blitzcrank, just like his solo Q, that like version of him, there's 9 to 10 times an invade coming out, so we now instantly saw Lost RATONES like responding to that, like, hey, there's a Blitzcrank, maybe they're trying to invade us. didn't really happen, but it also means that Los Ratones is really setting up their A game, not expecting anything less, of course, since this is your elimination game from both sides. Last game, it was just Los Ratones who could get eliminated from the tournament. Now it's also on to KAUFLAND Hangry Knights to show that they're still into it.
Yeah, with the pressure reversed, let's see how KAUFLAND hold up under that strain. Nemesis and Random going to start trading in that mid lane. We often see Baus handed the Galio, but today was given more of the carry pants and Nemesis after pulling some pretty massive damage numbers on the Azir last game. It's going to be put on the Galio to follow up and support. Baus and Crowny are going to be front and center when it comes to carrying this game out.
Maybe a little bit of a different role in comparison to his last game, so also like a mental switch that has to be switched off or on for Nemesis, but knowing the type of player he is, he can do that. When the first hook actually connects onto Crowny, but Crowny says thank you for the gap closer, I'll just start trading into Jeskla a little bit more.
Yeah, no sushi found, instead a whole ass man on the end of the hook right there, but Crowny does take a little bit of damage. Reckless still in control of the wave as well, and they'll get this one crashed in. So Jeskla, of course, decent burst options on the Corki. If you get a hook into the right spot, you can pop targets, but pretty short range. So Jeskala's going to have to be wary when it comes to dealing with the potential Crowny Reckless aggression. Currently, Rabble is on that bot side of the jungle and rotating down, but of course the Nocturne unlikely to be seen before that 6th level.
I also don't know what happened on mid lane in the meantime, but we see that Nemesis was already forced to take a reset and teleport back to lane. So that's also maybe a huge advantage for Random already. If he can take those really nice trades, he now has an teleport advantage, which maybe doesn't do that much this early in the game. But it does make for the fact that he is level 3 now, and if Rebel wants to make something happen on the mid lane early on, this is now also an option that has opened up, instead of just looking for the 3v3 possibilities on the bot lane.
Yeah, and that bot lane going heavily for Crowny and Reckless there, dodging out the Wisdom hook and then burning the heal on the dash forward. So Lucian Nami starting to get rolling here, and the first blood as we turn away just like that. Crowny and Reckless snap it up. Now, we have had confirmed for production. We will have a replay to roll to show that first blood. But for now, all you have to know is Crowny's winning it.
Quickly taking a look at what was happening on the mid lane. Nemesis, of course, taking a really offensive approach with the fact that he started Dark Seal and not necessarily like a Doran's Shield to get easier to the laning phase, or maybe a Doran's Ring to get his mana sustain a little bit more up. He also, well, I thought he was just going for an engage with Velia there, but Velia was already off the map, so that was just a little bit of a bluff coming out from the mid laner from Los Ratones.
Yeah, just aura farming in that mid lane, stepping right up in front of him and just strolling away as we once again see Venor pushing Baus in on the top side. Much the same story as last time, and again, a pretty sizable CS lead. Of course, the Gnar early on, especially in mini form, can abuse the range melee matchup, but Baus on the Jax will scale up. And let's take a look at that bot lane fight.
So we did see that Crowny already chunked him out a little bit with that earlier hook that connected, and now if they want to look for the trade, Vistum, he either doesn't have his hook yet or he's holding onto it for a really long time, because there's no real way to punish Los Ratones there. I feel like the only way that could have happened if that was the moment Hook came off cooldown. Because else Crowny, there's no way that he's allowed to make such a play.
Yeah, I think Jeskla, the damage sneaks up on him a bit there, I think. Has to flash backward, but Crowny gets in range for the double stacked auto attack. And takes that first kill, so goes back for a pickaxe, and it's just a lowly tier for Jeskla. The damage just incomparable between the two bot laners right now. And that is going to be the start that LR want. They would love to have another early game like last time, where Reckless and Velia were all over the place, making great amounts of action happen. Now, they could probably do without that mid game, or they almost threw the whole series away, but we'll see how they develop.
Just a little bit of happy gaming should also be allowed sometimes if you're feeling yourself in some form of a groove. So you can make some more plays happen, take some more risks, risk-taking behavior. It is known that sometimes it does fire back completely into your own face, but for now it should be okay when we're seeing a 3v3 incoming in the bot lane.
Oh, the footwork from this Lucian right now. Sidestep and skill shots left and right. Reckless takes a fair chunk, but Wisdom as well did not get away unscathed.
I don't think this bot lane can help their jungler contest this dragon, but at least they have Random on mid, who has made his presence known throughout this series and also throughout this laning phase, where Nemesis looks to be struggling fairly hard into this Orianna. And now having himself his priority on mid lane makes for both junglers not really able, are not really able to start this dragon thus far. But we do see Rebel just hovering there, and he really wants to try it. He just wants to give it a start and see if he can just maybe sneak it away a little bit, but of course instantly spotted out. We do know that there's some vision from Los Ratones there. So it does throw a little bit of tempo away for him.
Yeah, certainly the bot lane prior for Los Ratones after this Crowny Reckless performance. Nemesis is in the area with the Hero's entrance available as well to slam down if needed. If someone gets hooked into the wrong spot, there's a Galio ready in the wings. But they're going for the engage instead. A flash in, double taunt, snap engage from Los Ratones, knocks random down before he has a chance to blink, and Los Ratones turn back on the Drake.
For the Hungry Knights, this is one of those moments that you'd really love to see that both junglers would be level 6, because with the Nocturne Paranoia, it's so much easier to get that ball delivery comp actually working. But now with the Nocturne still struggling to reach that level, still being level 5, it is of course in the moment as well that Velia is still level 5, so it isn't reasonable for both junglers to be at that point. But it should also mean for the Hangry Knight that this isn't the point in the game that you really want to contest this dragon yet. That you just give it over to Los Ratones and find your goal elsewhere, because now you instantly give away your mid laner, and with that the pressure of the dragon as well, and it does result in maybe the slightest gold lead, but also just a free objective going over to Los Ratones.
Yeah, a bit of an unnecessary contest from KAUFLAND right there, losing some of the advantage in mid lane. Further gold into Crowny's pocket as well. Top lane, at least, still going pretty well for them. Mouse is getting slapped around somewhat. Ravel's going to step up and steal away this blue buff, as Jack's going to maybe have a look for it, but won't get in range in time. So Nocturne, having hit level 6 now as well, is flashless, but does have that all-important paranoia to try and get stuck in.
Normally what we see from both of these teams coming out during the Void Grub spawn is that either the support or both the AD carry and support will run towards the top lane, try to set up and help their team with another objective, but it looks like Los Ratones has chosen to still put their bot lane around bot lane. I don't know if they 100% don't want to contest these Void Grubs, but they also have notified themselves that they have taken the dragon already, so there's not a lot of pressure onto them that they have to get these Void Grubs to set the score even.
Wisdom comes into threaten. Velia was around the corner. He takes a tower shot for his trouble. So again, KHK unable to make their early plays stick. This is consistent with last game where they were trying to make active plays, but Los Ratones always had the sixth sense. They always had an idea of where the threat was coming from and were able to deal with it very well. It's a large part of how they built up that early game lead. Now they also have a snowballing bot lane to play through as well, so the instincts of Los Ratones clearly still very sharp.
Meantime, we see Void Grubs do go down to Hangry Knights. That's something that we had expected with already the build-up from the last part, where it didn't really look like Los Ratones wanted to trade this anyway. Like, they just feel comfortable having that dragon, and if the enemy takes something away, that's completely fine to them. I don't know if this is fine to them on mid lane, though.
Yeah, now they've decided to bring some more assistance to this lane, and they have managed to make this one work. Nemesis going to get clonked down in the 3 versus 1. Paranoia used the flash from Wisdom 2, and to be fair, the Galio is in the dirt.
But at the same time, we know Los Ratones, they don't like to sit idle. Normally, they like to make at least one response play or a cross-map play. Now, the play happened in mid lane, but Velia is looking to do something against this Corki.
He's looking to do something against something, that's for sure. The Grump's going to get targeted. Rabble's already onto that bot side, but no ult, no flash. Crowny Reckless is certainly the strongest element on my screen right now, and it's going to go to a smite by Velia, takes it, dives in as well. Gets the Valkyrie out of Jeskla. Rabble not going to get too far deep in there. Wisdom around the corner could threaten to an LR target, but they drop the ward again. They sense, they see the timings, and Crowny's diving anyway. Backsteps on the hook, is looking for Corki, but the minion wave has arrived, making it a little bit sketchy. And Los Ratones backing away. They spent a lot of time here. Nemesis missing out on the taunt on the left side of your screen, but on the re-engage again, but this time it's onto Rabble, getting popped down. Jeskla and Wisdom watching dumbfounded as blue team. The Los Ratones pick up the feat of warfare. 3rd kill on the board.
It is the eagerness from Los Ratones to keep this fight going. I believe that a handful of AD carries would have just thrown in the glove in the ring and said like, okay, our Lucian is so low, there's no way we can actually keep on contesting this. No, we have a Lucian Nami. The Nami can make sure that he's still topped off and he can just dash his way around the fight. He can show his fancy footwork to keep on sidestepping these blitzcrank hooks, and then they get themselves a kill onto a really important target, because I feel like Rebel is one of those players who decides a lot of tempo and a lot of what is happening in Kaufland where they want to make a play. And now that Nocturne getting a forced reset, even though he didn't necessarily have the paranoia up for last fight, does probably put a wrench into the plans of how you would normally like to transition your jungle clears as a jungler yourself. So yeah, I'd say that Los Ratones, even though it maybe wasn't completely planned, on the go they made up a great go-for plan, and it pays off in dividend.
It certainly does, and they need that gold lead to continue growing for Crownie, because we saw on top side Venora just knocked down the first turret entirely solo. 11 minutes in, he's got 1.5k lead over Balsi entirely on this Gnar. Now, having that much value tied to a Gnar that is by its definition a timed champion, if you don't have the Mega Gnar at the right point, if you're not in the right place at the right time, you can lose a lot of that value. So Venora's going to have some pressure to use this value as much as possible, because Crownie, we know what he's going to do. He's going to get stuck in, just like Nemesis and Baus getting the flash out around him in mid lane.
I didn't know that Crownie ever played for Schalke, because he is actually showing zero fear, and that is something that we rarely see from AD carries. Even though on the Lucian you really need to have this like daredevil mentality. You're not necessarily a Samira, but dashing forward, you are short range and you have a lot of burst damage. So if you dare to take these risks, knowing that your Nami is always there to back you up, that is something that will probably like split the average Lucian towards the pros. And well, Crownie, we've seen it more often than not. Like, he's shown it in LEC, he's showing it here again in his NLC team, that he is one of those AD carries that maybe doesn't have an LEC title, but maybe should have had one.
Yeah, the second place Spectre has loomed over large parts of Crownie's career. He had managed to break the Silver Surfer title and get that win in EMEA Masters last split with Los Ratones as Nemesis. Going to walk into Rabble here, randoms around the corner.
There's Velia.
Comes through, Velia's there as well to threaten on a re-engage with the Crescent Guard. Venor around the corner, this Gnar threatening with a Triforce, but ultimately Velia just gets his mid laner out of trouble and backs away. Now the blue still being contested by Nocturne. Faust is in the base. Velia is going to have to try and steal this one, but I don't think you want to get stuck into a real fight here.
And it does leave us with the fact that this map is completely split, in the way that on one side we see Los Ratones dominating with their teamfight after teamfight, Crownie showing us some spectacles on the Lucian, but at the other side we see Vanner just toying with Baus, and Baus not really having a response even on his signature AP Jax. Not necessarily a champion that can put a lot of weight into the early game, and with a Gnar, even though it is kind of an orchestrated champion, you kind of know when he's going Mega Gnar and when you do and cannot fight him. If there's some off angles to be found by Kaufland, like maybe here on the top lane,
the Nocturnary combo onto the Baus Jax. The Fear as well jumps back to a minion, desperately scrabbling for safety. A Counter-Strike will find one more stun. Rabble flashes in, trading by Baus, gets away from the Q, so no speed up. Leaps toward, but Wisdom round the corner. Pops the ultimate, and Baus almost slipped away, but Blitzcrank said no.
everything you can do, I can do better. Just Baus trying to keep everyone on the line, and then there's a Blitzcrank just walking in there like, yeah, maybe you have your funny movement speed boots, I also have my swiftness boots available, and if I dare to go fast, then I can just cut you off wherever I'd like. It isn't even that big of a deal that there's a kill going over to your support, because it also means that it spikes a bit earlier to their first support item, which can be make or break when it comes to team fights. My guess is that Wisdom will go for something around either the Locket or the Zeeks, and both of those items can make a huge deficit in winning or losing a fight, trying to peel for your carries or doing a little bit of extra damage when you're in the middle of it. So yeah, it does make sense, and for Wisdom it's not even that terrible.
Yeah, it's certainly fine for him to pick that one up. Back to farming, go the junglers now. Nemesis, unfortunately, going to be the recipient of the Venor lane for the time being. And it looks like Baus is slightly homeless on the map right now, working out where he's going to rotate to. Probably is going to be sent back to deal with the Gnar. You don't really want to leave your Galio gathering dust in the bot lane. You want to have that ult available on the map, and Baus is going to come over the wall, but Random's actually going to be there waiting, and a 2v2 doesn't look great for them. Jumps away. Rabble coming in with a Hextech portal. Kaufland keeping the pressure up on this Jax.
Wave also fresh from cooldown, there's maybe no paranoia, but Random can still put a lot of pressure out here, so Los Ratones, the only choice they have is to make the crossplay happen on the Rift Herald, but that does mean that they will give over this bot lane tower And hopefully they will not leave Baus alone for too long, since there are 4 members of KAUFLAND just swarming him once again, just like last game.
Come on, man. This is for sure bullying. Venor is going to step into the face of Baus. Gives him a chance to actually get a half-decent trade for the first time in a long time. And the rest of KHK have retreated back to their base. So, tower in the bot side, LR with the promise of a turret in the future. No outer secured by the Rats at this point. You can see the gold lead that this objective play has built up for KAUFLAND right now. 2.5k at the 60-minute mark.
It does feel like the Los Ratones are the team that are more vulnerable during the team fights at this point. Just knowing that this Nocturne Orianna combo can be executed whenever they'd like, and Crowny being the only member who is currently really fat and can dictate these kind of team fights. If you press R on this Lucian and he disappears, then the Los Ratones will have a really difficult time along these objectives. So it feels like KAUFLAND are the team that are just one button click away of complete domination of the next team fight. So for Los Ratones, I'd say division control is probably the most important, because you don't want to lose your AD carry fairly easily to this. And you really need him to make sure that the carries on the other side just fall before they can actually start a fight.
Yeah, again, mirroring the last go. Ooh, another sidestep took from Wisdom. Los Ratones playing with fire. There are TP called on both sides. They're gonna back away. Rabble holding the paranoia. Venor almost stacked up the Mega, getting some damage down on Velia. This Gnar is already such a threat already. Los Ratones backing all the way back to mid lane. They dropped the Herald instead. They're gonna try and confuse things again. It worked well for them in last game.
The Crowny Nemesis, like just all of them, instantly moving away from that wall the moment Venner has the potential to go Mega Gnar. Because you know, if the Gnar ultimate is huge, there is insane follow-up available for the Hangry Knights.
Velia, Crescent Guard is there. Wisdom has to flashback. The tower's still alive, remember. Rabble takes a bit of a chunk. Doesn't call the paranoia just yet. Venor has gone mini. He's got no Mega for now. Crowny sees the opportunity to try and take down the threat, but has to get pushed back. The rockets from Jester now firing. Baus gets the stun. Buffered is the Valkyrie, and no one's gone down just yet. They break apart.
Wisdom missing another hook, which could have been crucial. Like, value out of the fight instantly means a go button for this dragon. Now it's just a reset in the teleport, but it's random that's going to be in the midst of it.
Venor flash away, but killed by the taunt. The paranoia still turning out the lights, but Los Ratones staying together. Rabble in and out, and Ratones weather the Nocturne ultimate beautifully again. Everyone backs away. The summoners, the TPs, the ults, everything's being dropped right now, but no teams have a death. And the dragon started up by KAUFLAND. Looks like Los Ratones might be seeding it.
Does show a difference in team fighting capabilities when there's a Nocturne Orianna combo or just a Nocturne jumping on your backline, because the Shockwave already had to be used earlier in the fight to make sure that not everything was going into shambles already. So Los Ratones, they maybe take a minor loss, but the fact that they managed to all survive and they don't give away too much and there's still pressure to be played with, means that they basically put themselves into a position where you're not taking the risks that are unnecessary. Like, sure, you can give this dragon away. It's only one extra dragon on top of a counter where, 3 more dragons really have to come if you want to play for a soul win condition cop-out. Los Ratones know that the next fight that can be really important with Baron or with Atakan can be even more deciding for them. So just keep the resources available and rinse and repeat for next fight, see if you can make that happen. So yeah, they're just controlling it. And control from Los Ratones, something that we haven't seen in winter, but something that has come within the team during this spring split. Yeah, a real nice help with Odoamne.
Yeah, it's mature decision making from them, not just going, well, we could get the Hextech soul point and we're down in gold and we need to find a win condition, so let's just send it and let's just try and outplay them. They're not thinking that way anymore. They're playing with a measured attitude at this point. They know where their strength is. They're going to wait for those strengths to come back up and take the fight with the best chance of winning. Crowny continuing to scale up, working towards that Lord Doms. He's pulling it back right now. Might be able to pick up that second item. Critical for securing a potential team fight win down the line. It's Atakan coming up in 10 seconds as well. Now in game 2, KAUFLAND was straight onto that at spawn. Not going to be the same today. I think they are going to take this one themselves. A little bit more caution. Instead going to focus on this mid lane.
They are 4 players strong, and there's also a Venor who's still hovering around that Atakan in case that Los Ratones are ones instantly on it. They will spot out Crowny and Reckless here. And I thought there was maybe a play coming out, but no, it's Baus.
Leap strikes into vision. Instantly, paranoia comes on his head, fleeing towards the brush, but there's no way out from him. It's 4v5. Now Los Ratones have to make a snap decision. Looks like they're going for mid.
It is mid and top lane. They are splitting the play, knowing there are no teleports available to answer Nemesis. But Nemesis, he has been there for a while. He has teleport if his team needs it. But I'd say that Los Ratones at this point have considered all possibilities and said, sure, we can go all commit for this random Atakan, who just gives a little bit more extra stats. But the more thought out play is to just go for the towers, get ourselves some extra gold, get ourselves some free plays that we are able to get with Baus dropping on the bot side, and not try to take any more risks than necessary, because if we go full commit for this Atakan and it does blow back fully into our faces, this 2,000 gold deficit might grow to a 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 gold deficit, and that can become a nice wallet diff.
Double TP, Venor and Rabble greeting for a wave right there. Los Ratones need to pick a direction. They're going for the Gnar. Almost has the Mega. The Nami wave from Reckless coming in to slow them down. Over the wall he goes. The bubble doesn't connect. The double stun into the wall, but Los Ratones have the man advantage. They're going to pick up this nice kill. Shut down gifted to Crowny. A great decision by Los Ratones. And again, that time was KAUFLAND overstaying a little bit. They had the Atakan, chose to push a wave into a tower, and lost the shutdown for it.
Crowny is already sitting on both an Essence Reaver and the Lord Dominic's regards, and my instant instinct would be that he is of course looking for that Infinity Edge, making sure that his damage spikes even further through the roof, because the Lord Dominic's is basically a small setback since you have a Gnar against you, and you do want to kill him at one point in time as well, and we already saw that he was struggling with doing that. So giving your AD carry that shutdown, being able to afford another BF sword, which is probably one of the most difficult items to build since it's so expensive, and like during laning phases it's difficult, but even after that, if there's no big team fight, it's really difficult to get these items instantly as a spike. You just give it to your AD carry. Crowny is the man to make it happen, the rest has to play around him, and now with that BF sword picked up, he can actually start punching some holes into these tanks as well, so that's really good for them to pick that one up.
Yeah, they just have to keep him safe. The double supports of Reckless and Nemesis to try and keep Crowny alive, give him some room to breathe in these team fights. It worked, again, very well for them in the last game. Velia giving Crowny's Jhin room to play was critical in some of those tight fights. As KAUFLAND now setting up, waiting in the brush, hiding Rabble and Random, potentially looking for another engage onto Crowny. Even just stealing a summoner for him before a big objective would be a lovely way to start. 15 seconds before the Hex Tech, and LR don't want to give another one away, but the hook lands and the engage comes in, but there's no one else to help Rabble. The two supports are standing by with Crowny. He still gets feared. Velia somehow alive on the front line, but Nocturne's going to get picked off here. Nemesis is in with the ultimate. He's found Random, forced the flash from the Orianna. Baus is recalling to try and catch Venor, but a hook onto Nemesis. Jessica looking for some damage. Velia back in. Nemesis on the follow-up again. Baus leaping forward. Crowny has already stepped back to the Drake, but the base of Los Ratones is under fire.
It is a difference in decision-making on both sides. Like, Los Ratones knows that if they're fighting a 4v5 and their backline is being blown to bits, they really need the help of Baus, so they instantly call them over to start helping them. But on the other side, we know that KAUFLAND is sitting in a position where the Hangry Knights are just, well, you can start doing that split push. We are fine if we blow away their backline. It's really good for us. If it doesn't happen, we will just stall them as long as possible, and you can start tearing down on their base, because there's no one that's really there to answer you, and no one can really answer you solo. There really has to be someone with them. So even if they trade something away and they do give away the dragon in the end, it's A, not soul point for Los Ratones. They've only secured soul point now, so there was no dragon soul on the line. And B, the fact that your top side is now open means that there's another opportunity maybe later on in the game where Venor can actually take this inhibitor by himself, exerting even more pressure on the rest of the map if you want to go for another dragon contest. So even though with this gambit not really feeling like it's a net win for KAUFLAND, it is still an okay situation and the right decision to be made.
Yeah, it's both sides. Los Ratones, they can, threaten to pull KAUFLAND to the threat of a Hextech Soul, but KAUFLAND have the exposed inhibitor. Venor with TP is still so far ahead on this Gnar. It's very hard for anyone to contest him. Only Crowny really can actually take a shot at it. Certainly not the Baus, not just yet. And for now, See how KAUFLAND can play around this one. It still feels like they have control of the map. Los Ratones have to play this reserve. Crowny, especially with both summoners down on basically on almost every member of LR. Only Baus has a flash to speak of. Crowny needs to be kept safe, and the combo of Random and Rabble is going to be back online. You've always got to be watching out for it.
Talking about map control, and I look at this mini-map, I see so many control wards put down.
Oh, they got them! Oh, they got them!
Decision.
Massive double pickup. It's exactly as we said, Sim. Crowny and Reckless knocked up in the blink of an eye, and the Baron is live.
And this is a really dangerous situation for Los Ratones, because it doesn't really feel like you can just give this Baron away. The moment there's even more pressure also coming out from Vano, who has already shown what he can do with the split push. If that gets even worse, how are you going to start holding them? So we do expect a response from Valia, but he's not going to make it in time. He notes it himself as well. He's on his way back to base, maybe try to catch a mid-wave. But this is not, as a Los Ratones fan, the way you want to see this game swing. This is a complete, well, I don't want to call it a blunder, but a really great vision game being set up by KAUFLAND, and it pays off for them really, really well.
And it was so painful to see as soon as Crowny hits the fountain, he buys the Guardian Angel. He was backing to get the item that would save him from this very scenario, but dies and the Baron falls before it can happen. Now they're going to have to deal with the Baron pushing across multiple waves in setting up for this next Hextech. The Hextech Soul just got 5-10 times harder to pick up for them now. After a play like that, it again knocks them back down to 3,000 gold in the deficit. And they're really running out of time. They need to get something back on the map. They cannot lose too much on this Baron push.
It's still rather okay in the sense that your enemy team is not on the Dragon Soul point, so even if you give that away, it's not that big of a difference. And the Baron buff, of course, is temporary, so as long that the Hangry Knights cannot instantly end the game with this Baron buff, you are still in it to win it, but you have to play it really carefully, play the turtle stance, and make sure you can defend your base. But it looks like the Los Ratones have a different plan if they're starting a fight on the bot lane.
Ooh, they're going aggressively for Rabble again. Start focusing the jungler. Worked for him last time. Flash away goes the Nocturne. The Nami Wave can't connect. Jeskla gonna get stunned. Flash in from Baus for the double. They're gonna find this Corki at least. Shut down for the Jax. Looking to hunt for Random, but turns back as check out the mid lane. Once again, it's Venor on the split.
Venor is only going to be held by Crowny. He is there on his own, and I don't know if the solo Lucian's gonna be enough, if we're gonna be fighting on the river.
Belia been caught now, but can he survive? Nemesis come around the corner. Not much damage, actually. The Xinjiao weathers it pretty well, but Rabble, is he the one caught out? He's gone for the engage, but now comes the turnaround for Los Ratones. 50 seconds on the Hextech, 48 on the jungler for KAUFLAND. This is going to be very tight, Sim. Wisdom as well, trying to get to safety, but Nemesis, he's having none of it. The CC chain comes in and Crowny picks it up.
Also some strange decision-making coming out from the Hangry Knights, because we do see Venor in the end teleport towards the fight, but everyone is kiting back from the point where he is trying to TP to, so there's no real way for him to join the fight. So now there's also a teleport being down for the Hangry Knights before the dragon spawns and the dragon will be set up. So Venor now forced to stay with the rest of his team, even though he still has a Baron buff and could have been on the split push on top. This has just gone from a game for Hangry Knights to win, to a great decision from Los Ratones to punish them on bot lane, and it being anyone's game again. Because whilst you said there's no real way for Los Ratones to start contesting this dragon, there's no real way for Hangry Knights to start contesting this dragon now.
Yeah, I mean, my bad, I guess. That's my fault. I did not foresee this one, folks, but there it is. Hextech Soul for Los Ratones. A new lease at life. Crowny is laughing his way to the bank with this one. He's accelerating towards his fourth item, still has his GA, now has both his summoners and the Hextech Soul. This is the time for Crowny to take control of the game.
Now, we must also say that there have been games already during the EMEA Masters event that we're looking at right now, that there's one team with the Dragon Soul and the other team still manages to take the game away, so we shouldn't instantly go into a euphoric mood that Los Ratones is going to close this one out. There's still the danger of Rebel and Random lurking around the corner, where the play that first happened on mid lane when Crowny and Reckless got caught is able to be repeated. And then the Los Ratones are in a more difficult situation, because even with the Guardian Angel allowing Crowny to respawn, there's no Nami anymore to peel for you, and you are basically already in the middle of the enemy team, so it will still make for a difficult situation.
Engage onto Crowley once again. Here come the shields, and he's pushed into the resurrection already. Now Lost Ratones need to buy him some space. They're onto Jester. They've got one kill. Rabble abandoned. Crowley is now free and clear. No one else can contest him. Benor's on the split, but Baus is already watching. He's backing, maybe looking for a TP into mid lane. Nemesis has found another catch onto Wisdom, and LR turned back to find more kills. Random is chilling in the mid lane, trying to cut the wave. Lost Ratones hunting KAUFLAND members.
But the expectation here was that Crowley would not be able to survive after Reckless also would have died. But that didn't happen. Like, the instant wombo combo went on the AD carry that actually still has a Guardian Angel, so it doesn't really make that big of a difference.
Benor now caught out. Baus and Nemesis with the stun. A knockback stops the combo. He leaps to safety. But this is just inevitable. Baus with the rocket belt picks him up with that extra bit of damage. And all of a sudden, Lost Ratones, they've got full control. It must be said, Lost Crowley, he lost his GA, he lost his barrier, he's held onto the flash, but it is going to be a while before he can take a hit like that. At the end of the day, Rabble and Random, they still killed him off the bat.
It is also one of the first times during this game in a while that Lost Ratones are the ones with a gold lead again. Like, we've seen the Hangry Knights, like, just iterating a little bit on like a 2000 gold lead, 1.5k gold lead, back to 2000, and now it's for the first time that it has been completely turned around, and Lost Ratones should also of course start playing again with that bravado that they are the one in the lead and they are the one who will be deciding this series. And then you still look, yes, the Guardian Angel is down on Crowley, but he's also 2,500 gold ahead on Jeskla on his own, has that Infinity Edge completed, a lot of damage there. And apparently, if there are enough players around him that can keep him safe, even when Rebel is diving him, it shouldn't be that big of a difficulty. Oh, well, maybe the Hangry Knights are even giving it over.
Oh, tags Wisdom, and that Blitzcrank got nowhere to go. Absolutely free and easy for Crowley, so that extra pick threat has been taken off the board. It's all up to Nocturne Orianna now, and Lost Ratones smelling blood in the river. Baron is a possibility. They're going for Baus instead. It's the AP Jax, remember, trying to get back to safety of his team. Leap strikes in. Velia coming in to take over frontline duties. And Crowley is on a rampage. Again, the play from KHK. It's desperate onto the split laner, and they can't even find that a flash away from Orianna. Velia hunting for even more with Reckless in the back pocket as Nemesis isolates the Gnar. Crowley doesn't even have to do anything in the rest of this fight. LR are marching down the mid lane.
You can't even blame the Hangry Knights to go for this initial play, because you do see a player on its own. You have the feeling that you can basically blow him to bits, just like what Velia is going to do to Random here, who is still on the run, hoping to find safety, but there was no safety to be found. But if you take out Baus there, you do set yourself up for a better situation. It's just that the entire Avengers is being called up once again by Lost Ratones, and when it's a 5v5, it looks to be the end of the game as well.
That's gonna be it. They've got everyone in the base. The Knights, they came in so hangry tonight, but it is no ratatouille for them tonight. Not for KAUFLAND. Lost Ratones white knuckle it through a 2-1 slogfest and reach the temporary sanctuary of the knockouts.
And keep in mind,